But I'll just go back. We saw Barcelona against Real Madrid. We've seen them twice against Inter. The worrying performance, and the one that I look back to, and I think you were doing the game as well, Craig, was the one against Celta Vigo, the second half against Celta Vigo, when they completely collapsed, and Celta Vigo could have got back into the game with numerous chances. They didn't in the end, but that was the sign that Barcelona weren't quite the side we thought they were.
Yeah, I wonder if you guys, being there and kind of sensing everything that you see in the stadium, we have the Champions League disappointment midweek. Now we have a loss in El Clasico. Joan Laporta apparently had to get tossed out of the referee's dressing room. Is there some sense that the season is about to unravel for Barcelona or has already started to unravel?
Well, the situation, obviously, as Sid explained so well, is that financially this is going to be a massive hit, because they're not going to make it through to the knockout stages of the Champions League. La Liga can only take you so far. Lewandowski didn't join Barcelona to play in the Europa League. A lot of question marks around some of those signings and the way they fit it in. But I suppose at the end of the day, the buck is going to fall and it's going to stop, isn't it? With Xavi, Robert.
Yeah, but they've got two big games coming up, on Thursday and Sunday. If they can get 2 wins out of that, everything might seem better again. Remember, they have been playing against a very good Inter side last week and a very good Real Madrid
every
side.
Time they come up against a good side, they lose.
Absolutely. But they are still in second place. They are only 3 points behind. They've still got a chance if they get things right and they get some of their injured players back. That's been a problem, the defenders.
Guys, talking about finished product. Robert Lewandowski, does he come under any scrutiny?
The back line is horrendous. I mean, Christensen's injured, but he wasn't first choice at Chelsea. Bellerin was back in Spain and got brought in because they were desperate for a right back. They got rid of Serginho Dest. They had nobody there. And Marcos Alonso, I mean, let me put it one way. They're signing the third choice left back at Chelsea. That's what Barcelona have done, Marcos Alonso, and he's on the bench. I know Araujo's out. I know Koundé has been out and has came back in. I know they have some issues. But as a generalisation, their back line is not very good. And one of the things we talked about before the season started, when they activated all these levers, these financial levers, and brought all these players in, one of the things we discussed on the show was the midfield stroke front line going to be good enough and strong enough to negate the deficiencies at the back? Now, you have to say in the games against Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, and now the Clasico, there is a clear answer so far. No.
How much of that is on Lewandowski? He had his chances today.
Well, he scored 2 late on against Inter. He got no supply in the San Siro in the first game. He did have a bad game in Munich by his standards. He could have had a hat-trick in the first half. But yeah, it's kind of it's 6 and 2 threes. The supply chain to him at the moment in these bigger games is not great. He's done some great stuff against the other teams in La Liga, but quite frankly, Rafinha and Dembele have been poor. Now, Dembele, in a sense, is kind of moulding back into that player of a year ago, where he was in and out the side and he was injured. And his form was inconsistent. We thought we'd seen the last of that, but the last 2 or 3 games against the bigger sides, he's had plenty of the ball, particularly in the Inter game, but not a lot of end product. And quite frankly, Rafinha hasn't hit the ground running. I mean, he's had a few opportunities in the final third. I know he created a goal in the Inter game in midweek, but as a general rule of thumb, his end product so far at Barcelona has been nowhere near that of Leeds United because there's a lot more pressure on him.
Yeah, I want to get the guys' thoughts on what you were saying about Gerard Piqué. It's a player.
Well, that's a risk. But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying, look, Piqué...
I'm with you. It looked like the team didn't have a leader.
Piqué is also giving everybody the heebie-jeebies at the moment because he's not got any legs and he's also been making some poor decisions. All I'm saying is the biggest threat at Real Madrid from the wide position is Vinicius Junior, and Koundé has been playing right back. Yeah. It's something to chew on, I think.
Guys, for a player that gets a lot of criticism, did they miss Piqué today?
No. Did you see him against Inter? He can't run and his head's gone.
I can take Craig's point exactly. The one thing I would say is that they wanted Sergio Roberto to get higher up the field and not really deal with Vinicius Junior. They wanted him to be the spare player, and he was the spare player on many occasions, and he didn't make the most of it. They had a 2v1 on many occasions, and he turned back from the attacking situation. And they were hoping that Koundé would go out and almost play as a back three at times, so he would go and deal with Vinicius Junior. But the one time he had to deal with him in the first half, he squeezed towards the ball. Kroos played it in behind Roberto, and they were caught out all ends up. It just wasn't a good display defensively by Barcelona. It wasn't particularly good in midfield until they changed the system, and the two wide players, as Craig said, just weren't up to it today.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.